Hi everyone, welcome back. All right, it's January now. And if you watched my last video and you can relate to what I talked about this confusion state that we all kind of enter into between Christmas and New Year's, we now enter into the next confusion stage, which is now that the new year has begun, there's this sense of a crash from the buildup of all the holidays and then all the family time you might have had or may not have had, and all the emotions involved with the holidays, no matter what it looked like for you this year. And so coming from that confusion and sort of that angsty anticipation about the new year, the question then is just then, if you start feeling that crash when the new year actually begins, it's like, okay, what now? What do I do now? Now, this is not going to be a video about all the different kinds or versions of resolutions that you could be setting. I do have opinions on that, and I'll be posting about that in different ways, but you can see that on social media all over the place. Plus, it's different for everybody. So there's no way that I should say that mine is the absolute universal best way to do it for you, even though I can help you figure out what is the best way to do it for you. So instead, what this is going to be is like, if you're just looking down the barrel of this whole next year and you're wondering, oh my gosh, this is going to be a long year. Whatever I set for my resolution is actually kind of like is lofty. How do I even begin? What do I do now? And you might be feeling just this energy slump. Maybe it's a sugar crash from all the cookies you had, but also just this energy slump of like, oh my gosh, all right, we're done. We're done with 2020. Now what's going to happen in 2021? And so what I want to do is I'm actually going to very intentionally combine 3 tips from 3 different wellness industries intentionally to help you do just like this 3-step thing that you could do literally in the next hour, and then to set yourself up and feel a whole lot better about this new year starting. Feel a whole lot more focused and clear about what you could do right in this moment to get you going and to just provide some relief too from the slump. Because oftentimes when our energy crashes, our mood also crashes. Our emotions follow suit. This is the body and mind connection, because our emotions will follow our energy. And so, I mean, I'm guilty of this. So like when you get tired and when you're slumping, you get cranky, or you get sad, or you might feel kind of depressed or stressed or overwhelmed or just really heavy and slow, unproductive, lazy, whatever it might be. There's a whole slew. And so these 3 tips that I'm going to say in a very particular order, like I said, can be done really quickly, but it should be able to pop that negativity, pop that negative emotional state of whatever your energy state is, so that you can be more okay with your energy state right now and be more clear on what to do next. Okay, cool, enough context. So I'm intentionally bringing these 3 pieces in from different areas in the wellness or 3 different wellness industries, because you're probably going to see, if you follow, I mean, I'll just give you the spoiler alert, like one is the mindfulness area, one is self-help, and one is psychology and coaching. And so if you follow one of those industries, maybe on social media, or you've been to events, or you read a lot of books in one of those industries, you're gonna probably hear each of these tips on their own. And there might be a whole built-out lecture about them. But the reason I'm bringing them all together is because these are things that you have heard before. And I'm calling myself out on that. I know that I'm sharing something that you've probably already heard before, but I want you to take these things that these industries typically will separate and kind of claim for their own, and I want you to do them all together. I don't want you to just think that one is the only thing that you have to do, because oftentimes when people try to just do that one thing that they might read an entire book on, afterwards they're just kind of like, okay, cool, what next? I need the next step. And they might feel even more lost or confused, and then they'll go too hard into that thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through each of these in a particular order. So the first one is mindfulness, is in the mindfulness industry. And all I want you to do is I want you to take a minute today, whenever you're watching this or listening to this, and intentionally take some really big, deep breaths. You don't have to do like a guided meditation. You don't have to do anything like that. Do whatever kind of breaths you want, but just like take really deep breaths where you are actually stopping yourself in the middle of the day to focus on that breath, to focus on the fact that you are stopping whatever is going on in your head and whatever you're doing to actually just focus on breathing. And it could only just be for like 30 seconds to a minute, just for you to recognize, oh yeah, that's a good reminder. Let's just slow this train down. I can take this breather literally for just a minute and we can move on. So just do that, because there's so much hecticness around the holidays, around the new year, that people forget to actually slow themselves down and breathe. Whatever kind of meditation people like to do or not, they just forget to slow down and do it. And so it's this super simple and super powerful reminder to do something that you automatically are doing all the time, but to do it slower, do it more intentionally, and do it much more healthily. Okay, so that's one. Number two, this is from the like the kind of the coaching and the self-help world. And this is the question of, just once you have taken some breaths and you stop for a minute, ask yourself right now, and just because of like the last week, what is it that you can be grateful for? And I want you to actually zoom in on this week. I want you to zoom in on this kind of holiday New Year's time. Don't think about your whole life in general. Just think about, like, okay, what are you thankful for just from the past like week and a half? Because like I said, holidays can be really hectic. Holidays can be chaotic. Holidays can be really stressful, and it's hard for us to get through the noise of the negativity and the stress to see what was actually positive and what was actually really nice to actually experience. And so just come up with one thing. Even if it was just like, for example, a conversation you had over Zoom on Christmas morning with a friend, or it was just a text you got from somebody else, or it was a present, or it was an activity you went off and did, or it was just some movie that you watched, whatever it is. So like, what experience or event or person or thing can you be grateful for that is specifically tied to this past week and a half? All right. Number three, going in reverse. Number three, this is more so in the coaching and psychology realm of zeroing in and simplifying action steps for you to do next. Now, the context of this is that when people set resolutions, they make the mistake of setting something that's way too lofty, way too high and intense and like idealized. And then so the reason why a lot of resolutions fail is because they start January thinking about this massive lofty thing, and then they can't get to it in January. And then they think if they can, they're supposed to maintain that for the rest of the year. But you can't do that. That's not healthy. That's not sustainable. You need to find a middle ground. And so a lot of people too, right now, in this confusing first week of the year, when they're just like begrudgingly getting back to work and getting the engine going again, are actually feeling on the other end of the spectrum, where they might be setting a lofty goal, but they're feeling like they are at zero or negative numbers in terms of energy and momentum and excitement to actually achieve that goal. And so what I want to help you do in the most simplified way is find something in the middle. Find something in the middle ground where it doesn't have to be something on your to-do list, for work or relationships or whatever it is, but I want you to think about something that you've been putting off. And it could be big. It could be like a big conversation that you've just been procrastinating that you need to have with someone. Could be emotionally charged like that. If you want to take on that challenge, you can. But it could also be something as simple as doing the dishes, doing your laundry, cleaning something. I don't know, whatever it is. But it could just be like a very small act. It could be like responding to an email or something that you just keep forgetting to respond to. I just want you to choose one thing that you've been putting off that you kind of need to get to. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. You get to choose that for yourself, of whatever you want to, how much accomplishment you want to feel from this, and how much weight you want to lift off your shoulders. But the point of doing this is not only to just get started on something, but also just to feel like you have the slightest bit of momentum, and that it's okay to feel accomplished when you're doing something really small. I talk all the time about how it's the little things in life is so true. You don't have to do these grand gestures. You don't have to achieve these massive, massive goals to feel accomplished. It could just be folding your laundry. It could just be washing your dishes. It could just be responding to that one text message that somebody sent you last week that you just keep forgetting to take the time to respond to. What is one thing that you can do that you've been putting off that can make you feel like, okay, cool, phew, thank goodness that's done. I got a little bit of momentum, and feel relief. Relief is really what I want you to feel from all of this. I want you to not only have that kind of clarity of like, okay, things are okay, even though this is a weird time of year, but I really just want you to feel that relief. I just want you to take the weight off of your shoulders. And so if you intentionally take a breath and like physically take weight off of your shoulders, physically take tension out of your body, and then think about something nice that you're grateful for and thankful for from the last week and a half, sometimes something in the holidays, and then you're able to actually take action on something that you've been putting off, and you feel good about the fact that that thing is done, you should feel an enormous amount of relief and just that space, that emotional space, that energetic space, that mental space of just like, okay, here's this little bubble. Here's this little bubble of relief. I can take this moment of peace. And like I said, this could just be like a few minutes long. It doesn't need to be an hour-long activity or hours-long action step that you want to take. It could just be very, very simple. And I want that moment of peace for you so you can feel better about where you're at right now, how confused you might feel, how sluggish you might feel, and how unexcited you might have felt about the new year.